This is a book review of Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall. This is a book about indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teachings of plants. It's an amazing read, so let's get into it. As a botanist and professor of plant ecology, Robin Wall Kimmerer has spent her career learning how to ask questions of nature using the tools of science. As a Potawatomi woman, she learned from elders, family, and history that the Potawatomi, as well as the majority of other cultures indigenous to this land, consider plants and animals to be our oldest teachers. And so in this book, she braids those two lenses of knowing together. Each of the 13 chapters are named after a different plant, but they're also all connected by weaving together indigenous wisdom and scientific knowledge. She teaches us about the reciprocity between humans and the rest of the natural world, how the world gives us so many gifts, including the very air we breathe, and it's up to us to pay that back with gratitude, respect, and care. She writes, "The more we learn about the natural world, the more we find ourselves to be implicated in it, linked together with all other living things. We are not just observers of nature. We are participants in it." Chapter 1, A Gift of Strawberries, is where she really lays out her argument. The world is full of gifts. The earth gives us food, water, and even beauty. But oftentimes we forget to notice the gifts we are given each day, or take them for granted because we think we have a right to them. She writes, "We are obliged to be grateful, not only for what we have, but for what we are, for all the gifts that we are given, and for all the ways we might use our gifts in return. And when we realize that we're always receiving gifts, then we realize that we're always paying them back with something else, either with gratitude or with debt. Gratitude is the way of the good life. Debt is the way of the destructive life." And here she introduces the concept of paying back the gift, which is how we can honor the giving of the world by caring for it. By taking care of the world, we show our gratitude. In Chapter 2, The White Pine and the Strawberry Patch, she talks about indigenous knowledge and how scientific knowledge isn't always compatible with indigenous knowledge. Oftentimes, science tries to understand nature by removing it from its context, while indigenous knowledge keeps everything in context. For example, she tells a story about when the U.S. government wanted to hire someone to study the strawberry patch in northern Michigan, when they asked the local tribe who had been living there for generations if they knew anyone who would be knowledgeable about their strawberries. The tribe said, "Why don't you ask Maya Mingus? She knows all about strawberries." Now, Myers was a scientist and an indigenous woman, and she was able to approach the question in a way that took both Western science and indigenous knowledge into account. She writes, "Science, like any discipline, has its own logic, assumptions, methodologies, and goals, but it does not have a monopoly on truth. Different ways of knowing speak to different aspects of reality. Each perspective is limited, and the sum total of all perspectives taken together is greater than any one of them alone." Chapter 3, The Three Sisters, is one of my favorites. She talks about how corn, beans, and squash are a gift to the people, but they also have a reciprocal relationship. We give them care, and they give us food. The three sisters are a perfect partnership. The corn stalks act as a trellis for the beans to climb. The beans fix nitrogen in the soil, which enriches the soil for the squash and the corn. The squash provides ground cover that helps retain moisture in the soil and suppress weeds. She writes, "What makes the three sisters such a powerful image is that it encompasses both abundance and limitation, generosity and scarcity. Like all gifts, the gifts of the three sisters are received in a spirit of reciprocity. We give them the best we have and they give us what we need." Chapter 4, Learning from the Cedar Swamp, is about the importance of reciprocity in all of our relationships. Even the swamp is teaching us that everything is interconnected. Everything is related. Nothing exists in isolation. She writes, "We do not come to the swamp to take, we come to the swamp to learn. Every time we cross the threshold of Cedar Swamp, we enter into a different order of existence. The rules of the city no longer apply. Here, among the trees, we are not apart from nature. We are part of it." Chapter 5, A Good Tree is Known by Its Fruit, is about the reciprocal relationship between humans and trees. Trees bear fruit, nuts, resins, fibers, and even their leaves return to the soil as fertilizer. She writes, "It is a gift to know the trees in the wild, to read the signs of the forest in the language of the birds, to know the taste of berries and the healing power of plants." Chapter 6, The Ontology of Oysters, is about how indigenous knowledge and Western science both seek to understand the world, but they do so in very different ways. Western science tends to break things down into smaller and smaller parts, but indigenous knowledge seeks to understand the whole. She writes, "From the perspective of Western science, the oyster appears as a simple organism, the basic formula of an animal. But from the point of view of the indigenous worldview, the oyster is an entire universe. It contains minerals from the earth, water from the tides, air from the atmosphere, and the energy of the sun. All these elements come together in the one being of the oyster." Chapter 7, The Trickster and the Carpenter, is about how indigenous knowledge and Western science have different relationships with the world around them. Western science seeks to control nature by understanding it, but indigenous knowledge seeks to understand nature by living with it. She writes, "The carpenter measures twice and cuts once, but the trickster just starts to cut and sees what happens. He is willing to risk waste because he trusts in his wit and speed. The trickster lives in a world of improvisation, but he is clever enough to make his risks pay off." Chapter 8. The Sky Tree is about the reciprocal relationship between humans and trees. She writes, "Trees nourish us with their shade, their fruit, and their beauty. In return, we can give them care, protection, and propagation." She also writes about how trees can help combat climate change, but we need to stop thinking of trees as property and start thinking of them as partners. Chapter 9. Honoring the Elders is about how indigenous knowledge and Western science have different relationships with knowledge itself. Western science values new knowledge over old knowledge, but indigenous knowledge values all knowledge, whether it's new or old. She writes, "The responsibility of preserving the cultural knowledge of our people falls to the young people of our communities. We must value their efforts and support their endeavors to learn the stories, songs, ceremonies, arts and crafts that connect us to our ancestors and to the wisdom of the past." Chapter 10. The Vine and the Tree is about the reciprocal relationship between humans and forests. She writes, "Our survival depends on our ability to live with the forest, not conquer it. In the end, our task is not to tame the wilderness, but to learn its ways and to listen to its voices. Only then will we be able to discover our place in the web of life." Chapter 11. An Ecology of Reciprocity is about the importance of reciprocity in all of our relationships with the rest of nature. We need to stop thinking of nature as something we own and start thinking of it as something we re a part of. We need to start thinking of ourselves as gardeners, not conquerors. She writes, "The essence of the indigenous model is reciprocity. It is a way of relating that recognizes our interdependence with the rest of nature and our accountability to the web of relationships that sustain us." Chapter 12. Green Grass. Thinking Mind is about how indigenous knowledge and Western science can work together to understand the world. She writes, "Science and indigenous knowledge are not mutually exclusive. They are complementary. Science can inform indigenous knowledge, and indigenous knowledge can inform science." And finally, Chapter 13, The Gifts We Have to Offer, is about the importance of sharing the gifts we have with others. She writes, "When we share the gifts we have with others, we enrich their lives, and we enrich our own. It is the way of the good life." I highly recommend this book. I think everyone should read it. I think it has a great reminder that we all part of the natural world, and we all need to do our part to protect it. We all need to be good stewards of the earth. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a comment below and tell me what you thought about the book. And if you want to learn more about indigenous knowledge or environmental justice, you can check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching.